Right, okay. Right, we'll make a start. Good to see you all back. Great, and we've also got a couple of new students starting. So we've got Sheila and we've got Anne. Nice to stay. Hope you enjoy the class. So it's the first week back, and I thought really for this month I'll kind of leave the project a little bit more over to you. One idea that somebody in the morning group had was perhaps work from older photos, black and white photos, something like that. So if any of you wanted to do that, you're very welcome to do that. As it's almost like the start of a new, I know it's not really a new term, but it's almost like that feeling about it. I thought I'd perhaps go over some of the basics in amongst the projects we've got coming up over the next few months. So I particularly want to look at sort of tonal work. So I'm thinking for the demonstrations I do for this project, I'll work in black and white. So today I thought I'd do a little bit of charcoal. Maybe another week I might do maybe some black and white painting. Hi Charles. Okay. Hi. I'm gonna grab a seat somewhere. Spot here, I think. George, yeah. Or just next to Ian, which would be fancy. So yeah, so that's the theme. This class is just doing really good. we've had a few new students join, and we've got a couple of students come back really that have been before. So I think probably I'll call it a day on new students for this particular class now, because I think so the contrast was this morning I had 6 people, so it's a bit of I know that quite a few people are away, but I'll be steering people more towards the morning class now, I think. So anyway, that's all good news. I mean, the good thing about that is that if I've got a good monthly average, it means that if you miss a session, I can just carry that over to the next month, which is what I have been able to do for most of the time, before the summer break. So I'll be able to carry that on. All right, so what else? Yeah, so I've got a few pictures in just to show you some of the things that I've done over the summer. I've been to Norfolk, Ireland and Scotland. So I've painted quite a lot in Norfolk, quite a lot in Ireland and a little bit in Scotland. But these are from Norfolk. So I just thought I'd bring a few. There's quite a lot more, so over the weeks I'll bring a few others to show you. All sorts of different subjects. Sometimes it was painting out in the rain, other times it was indoors. They arranged models at certain points. It was like a painting competition, so the nice thing about that is sort of painting with lots of other artists, and it's where I get to go and try and learn a bit more and develop my own painting really. So that's what I really like about it. And you get opportunities like, that particular clothing model. We also had a retired racehorse to paint at one point as well. So we went to the Munnings Gallery, and they organised, in Suffolk, and they organised a retired racehorse to play for us. There's a lot of opportunities that I don't normally get really. So that's some of the work I've been doing. And like I say, I'll bring some others in as we go. So what else have we got? Yeah, so you were saying that Lawrence Matthews have got quite a lot of canvases for sale, and the two, if you get 2, the third one's free. So just to mention that, if anyone's looking at canvases, that's Lawrence Matthews in Queen's Road, Southend. So that's that. So for anybody new to the class, the way I tend to work it is I usually do a little bit of talking at the beginning, or I'll do a short demonstration, so I'll do a little bit in a minute. And what I'm going to be doing today is charcoal, so I'll start one and also carry on the one I worked this morning. I tend to have a different theme for each month. So this month is really your own project, or working from old photos. Next month is to do with people, maybe people in landscapes, things like that. And then November is night scenes, sort of like, maybe buildings and things like that, or anything at night. And then December is winter landscapes. So these are the themes that we will work on each month. It's a mixture of your choices and my choices, really. So what I tend to do is I'll ask you what you want, include some of that, and then also include a few of the things that I quite fancy. So that's how that's going. Right, so the idea of black and white, again, when I was away, it was a suggestion that somebody suggested that you actually paint in black and white for a bit, and it helps to judge lights and darks. And really most images, I mean this particular photo, I picked this one out because I'm running a workshop on Saturday in Cambridge, and I just sent them loads of images and they chose that one. But it's actually quite a tonal photo really. I took this one, it's the River Chelmer, in October, quite a few years ago, very, very early in the morning. So you've got that kind of really bright light, but it's quite misty. But it's very much a light and dark image. There's not an awful lot. You could struggle to find a little bit of colour here and there, but the nature of it's quite tonal. And that can make a strong image. And often when we're designing paintings, it is the arrangement of the light and dark shapes that counts. I got this book, when I was in Norfolk, one of my friends bought me this book, because I've run him around a bit, gave him a lift and things. But Edward Seago, and you know, I was thinking, well, that particular image, and there's quite a few, you know, really stunning images in here. But it's quite interesting. It's mostly lights and darks, and there's a little bit of colour here, but it's a strong image, and it's an arrangement of, you know, a little bit light areas here, light areas up here. You know, strong dark shapes here, quite sort of angular shapes here. So it's quite interesting how artists put the different elements together. So it's something that we can be thinking about. So I'll leave that there if anyone wants to have a quick look at that too. Right, so starting off with charcoal. Charcoal is very much it's a bit of an all nothing medium. If I started just putting a little bit of this down, it comes off on a bigger bit than that. It goes down very darkly. It also depends on the paper you're working on. And this board is probably a little bit too rough, to be honest. I'd be better off with a smoother board, but I didn't really realise that until I started. So I usually start off just getting some tone in the area. So this area here is going to be sky. I want to leave some light for these really bright areas and the bright areas here. But you can just get some tone roughly where you think the darks are going to be, or in just a slightly. So I'd work it like that, and then either, if you don't mind using your hands, you can use your hands. You're inevitably going to get a bit covered with charcoal. It's not great when wearing white t-shirts and things like that. But this is a little bit of chamois leather that came in a drawing set. And it's one way of just kind of helping to smooth and soften out the charcoal. Equally, I can do that on my fingers. This almost isn't quite as absorbent, so I can move it around a little bit more. Years ago, I used to do quite a lot of charcoal drawing when I was a student, but I've not done quite so much for a long time. And since then, there's different techniques I wasn't aware of then that I've kind of since learned. So that's one way of getting started. And then once you're there, I might want to start maybe these trees in the distance. So again, that's probably a little bit too dark. But going in a little bit dark first. So I'll bring that down a little bit more. And then we've got this light area there, so I'll leave a gap for that. And then some dark there. So it's all a little bit vague at the moment. You can get these are like a kind of paper blender. And these are very cheap in places like The Works. You can get a set if you want to borrow some of these. These are quite good for just lightening it and for just blending the charcoal in. And again, years ago, I only ever used to use my fingers, but these you can kind of direct it a little bit more. And you can also pick a little bit of charcoal up and pop it down somewhere else. So they can be quite nice for that. Now that might still be a little bit too dark. So I can either lift a little bit off with a rag, wipe that back, or if that's not working, these soft kind of putty rubbers. If you've got a reasonable quality one, some of them don't work too well. I find that I just have to knead it into a shape so that I've got a cleaner here. And then you can just lift a little bit of the charcoal out here and there with that. So that's a way of just sort of kind of, or drawing light. And then from there, I can then start to sketch maybe some of this tree in the foreground. I'm going to raise that one up a little bit, just so it stands out a bit more. So I'm sort of using the charcoal on its side. That bit. And with trees, you might want to just alter the shapes a tiny bit. If the shape's a bit boring, you can adjust that a little bit. Just soften that in a tiny bit, so that I want it to stand out from the background. I want to line up a little bit around the background there, just to get that to stand out. And then I'll draw. So where I've worn the charcoal down into a sharp point, I can just use the edge and get some nice crisper sort of lines in there, a bit like that. And then, carry that on. Got some reflection down here. And same process, blend that in. And just try and sketch in the trunk. So that might be a little bit dark, so I'll just try and soften that line a little bit. Ways of removing the charcoal. I've not really got too much down yet. Perhaps I'll put a little bit here. So sometimes, like this area here is really dark. I'll bring that bit over a little bit. And then there's, on the left there, there's a slightly lighter bit. But what I tend to do is just go really dark and then just lift that out, perhaps with again, with one of these paper blenders, just lift little bits out, or just move the charcoal around a little bit. So it's just slightly lighter, but it's not nowhere near as light as down here. So that's another way of putting that in. And I can also just soften these edges a little bit here, so that it's not too sharp. And that can look quite nice, so that the focal areas here, I'm not drawing too much to individual leaves there. Yeah, rubbing out, you've got the, as I say, the putty rubbers. There's these ordinary rubbers are quite good. What I tend to do is use a bit of rag first. Say I want to remove a little bit here, perhaps take a bit of rag to get most of it out. And then I can usually get back to sort of a fairly light grey if I want to. The other rubbers I use are, I've got this mechanical rubber, which is like a little battery powered, and it's quite good fun, like a dentist drill type thing. Yeah, good for just drawing in a little bit. I'll do a little bit here just because you'll be able to see it, but yeah, if I wanted to pick out little highlights of light coming through the leaves, something like that, you can just pick a little highlight out, which you'd have a job, trying to rub that out. So there's quite a few different tools and techniques I've picked up over the years, really. I haven't really got a call for a particularly sharp straight line, but this was something I did a little sketch. This was another sketch I did yesterday, again, sort of river scene. And that was quite nice because it was like there was some, perhaps using a straight edge to get straight lines. So if you wanted bits coming in, you could just run it along a piece of paper. Or if you just wanted to shade up to a certain point, you can do that. Just work up to an edge, so it gives you a nice sharp edge. So I wanted this, it isn't particularly sharp here, but if I wanted a sharp edge up to the lake or the river, it gives me an opportunity to do that. So there's a few different ways of doing it. The other thing to mention is the difference between, so this charcoal I'm using here is what they call willow charcoal. It's just like a burnt twig. It is just literally the twig. The other kind you can either get it into pencils, like charcoal pencils, or you can get one of these. Something like this is a what they call a compressed charcoal. which is almost like ground up and stuck together again. So it's a bit more like pastel pencils or something. This, it's really nice for very dark bits. So I wanted to say make sure this tree trunk in. So it's a bit easier to direct it where you want it, but it won't come off as easy. You won't be able to rub that out so much. It will stay in the paper. So all these sort of techniques, I'd struggle to do that with this. So it's worth, if you've got the different kinds of charcoal, working out which and which are appropriate. So, a little bit of charcoal. So if anyone wants to try a bit of these, I've got plenty of charcoal here, got paper. You're very welcome to use any of these resources. If you've got your own images, that'd be great, because that's kind of the idea of this project. But if you haven't, I've got a collection of photographs that I bring in each week anyway. So they're in these folders, and there are different themes. Like this one should all be flower photos. This one's landscapes. So if you wanted to use any of my images, you're very welcome to use any of those, and you can borrow them for as long as you need them. Yes, that's pretty much it. And then what we also do is, like, halfway through the session, I'll make a cup of tea, coffee, get to have a little chat, wander around, things like that. And I will come around and work with everybody individually. Is that okay? Any questions? No, right, great. Good to see you all back. Stuff.